Welcome to Inside the Hive, our podcast where we break nursing down in a variety of ways. I am so excited today to be joined by three special guests. We're actually here during our launch event this weekend, so we are gathering all kinds of insight and feedback from our fellow nurses from around roles, responsibilities, and all different industries that they are working in. So I'm here today joined by Derek, Deanna, and Angelique. I'm going to have them give a brief introduction of themselves, and then we'll dive in.
All right.
Angelique, you want to start?
Sure. I'm Dr. Angelique Spencer. I currently a clinical manager for the Northeast region of a value-based population company.
All right.
And I am Dr. Deanna Stewart. I am an Associate Director of Behavioral Health, Utilization Management, and Case Management. And I have like 20 years of experience of nursing altogether.
Great.
It's wonderful. I am Derek Miller. I am now at the Cool Kids lunch table. So I do outreach education on behalf of the J.C. Burns Center here at UNC Hospitals.
All right, great. Well, let's dive in. So, a lot is going on in nursing today. If you are at all on social media or follow anything on LinkedIn, you can see the constant conversations that we're dealing with. Moral injury, there's burnout, there's challenges when it comes from bringing our nurses from academia into practice. So you all are out there facing this every single day in community settings, and you're also dealing with these patient populations that are challenging as well, too. So let's just start with what are some of the things that you're seeing out there that are challenges to our nurses? And then we also on this podcast really like to highlight actions, like what can we do differently in our own work to really make things better for our nurses today?
I've seen nurses being burned out because of the amount of patients they have. Way too many patients with high acuity.
Yes.
Just because you have 5 patients and you think you can juggle them, that's not the case if they all have high acuity.
Yes.
They're expected to keep up with all that comes with it. Mistakes get made.
Yes.
People get neglected. It starts to look like a numbers and a quality versus quantity over quality. And so trying to make sure that people understand that the quality is really the best aspect of nursing.
Yeah. And you're in that behavioral health space as well, too. So, 5 behavioral health patients, and I hate to label them like that, but I think we know kind of what we're talking about that's a heavy load.
It is a heavy load.
You're
could be 6.
Yes. Yes. And you're supposed to be therapeutically caring for them, or at least according to our evidence, right? We're supposed to be doing that. Does that even get to happen?
Right. It does not get to happen because, they're from one to the other, and then they don't care for themselves.
Right.
Then they're burnt out for themselves.
Right.
And they don't have it for themselves, not even another patient or another shift.
Yeah. They don't have it in them.
Lots of call-outs.
Yes.
I'm finding that nurses are struggling with just what to do with bedside. So they're so used to just bedside task oriented, but being able to break those social determinants of healthcare gaps.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Those are a lot of barriers. Sometimes they perceive patients as lack of motivation to participate in their own healthcare or just non-compliant.
Right.
When in reality, we may just be touching the surface on, okay, we gave them their adjusted medications and sent them out the door, but did their home situations change? Did their food insecurities change? So we're going to find a continued cycle unless we go a little bit further than just the acute care we're giving.
Yeah. Well, and, you're bringing up a good point that nurses, by definition, our job is not just to care for that patient in the bed. It's the whole person. If you look at our early theorists, that's what they represented for us. Go ahead, Derek.
No, you make a good point here. The idea that in undergraduate preparation, nursing preparation, you have a discrete class to learn about a discrete topic or a discrete body system, but patients and families are not built like that.
No.
And so at the bedside, the nurse is really at the center of the hub. And so that is a huge leap. And so I would say things that work in my experience, like new nurses and that transition to practice, you have to play the long game.
Yes.
You have to just say up front that it will take time to cultivate people.
Yes.
And so any attempt to abbreviate, truncate, reduce, in the name of efficiency, or we've got to get people at the bedside sooner, it's well-intentioned, but it's counterproductive.
Yes.
This is why people want to leave, because they need time to mature.
Yes.
Before they're ready to do the complexities of sick patients and sometimes sick family systems
Yes.
that are part of that.
That come in that. Yes.
That's right. And with the family systems, I've seen it where, of course you have these acute patients and they could have caregivers, especially with the pediatric population.
Yeah.
So now you've got the caregivers to deal with and
Yes.
the patient.
Yes.
And both of those together can be a lot. Yeah.
But let's face it, the complexities we dealt with 10 to 15 years ago is nowhere where it is now, because the access to care when we had smaller populations, you're around the corner from your PCP or clinic. Today, we see more people in the ED after they're beyond that point of going to the PCP office. It's utilized more so as a PCP clinic. So you're really fighting through so many different complexities. And at that point, it's no longer an acute situation. It's turned into a chronic situation. So
I heard a recent statistic that the average age of the physician leaving their profession is now somewhere around 49. So they're getting younger and younger, and they're saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. There's a huge move towards this idea of concierge medicine. Of course, nursing sits in a whole different bucket or path, but it leaves us always picking up the pieces, whether we're in the community setting or we're in the emergency department or we're in the ICU. And it's a challenging time, I think, for healthcare. I tell a story a lot about Thomas Edison and how there was a time at the end of his career where all of his factories, where all of his inventions were up somewhere in New Jersey, caught on fire. And his son walks over to him and says, Dad, what are we going to do? Everything's on fire. And he turns and looks at him and he said, Son, go get your mother and all of her friends, because we will never see a fire like this again. And I tell that story over and over because that's what I feel like we're looking at in healthcare. So looking at it through that lens, how do we amp this up, right? Like, Derek, how do we look at the nurses that come into practice today? And maybe the organization isn't going to pay all that they should to invest in them, but how do we as mentors and leaders in this environment, what do we say to them to keep them in that long game that you talked about?
Yeah, so I think it's humility. The phrase like the modalities of thinking that got us here are not the modalities of thinking that are going to get us out of this mess.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm humbled all the time that just because I've been playing the game longer, because I have more experience, I have to break who I am and reimagine how I am with new grads, how I am with new nurses, with any team member, because old solutions aren't going to work here.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And some of that is confronting my own calcification, so to speak. As I get older, I think I know some cool things. And some of that's more like concretely embracing social media. And again, it's reductionist. I don't want it to mean that, right? It's not that easy.
Right.
But learning new technologies, learning new ways of seeing things, because just how I've done things that worked for me is not going to necessarily work for folks who are entering the profession now. So beginner's mind, easy to say, hard to do.
Yes.
Right. But embracing beginner's mind. So really we can meet people where they are, not where I wish they were.
Right. I love that.
And being proactive instead of reactive.
Yes.
Keep reacting to things like, okay, let's take a step back.
Yes.
Look at the data. Look at how, the data doesn't coincide with what's going on.
Right.
And I think that people aren't putting pieces together. As a leader, we make sure we have to put pieces together.
Yeah.
The data has to match, the acuity. We're looking at the numbers. We're looking at the quality. We're looking at the staffing, and all of that has to go into play to have a successful ratio.
Yes.
And so getting ahead of that can often help.
Yeah.
And people don't tend to do that. It's the same thing, like you were saying, well, the old ways, we just keep doing this and we'll keep doing that. And I think people take advantage of the fact that we can operate from this angle and have this many people do this.
Yep.
And again, that affects the quality of care.
Yeah. And it becomes a new norm, right? Like once you do it once, we can just keep this up. But then we react, like you said, when a fall happens or when, an untoward event happens in a room, like a suicide or something like that goes unnoticed. Well, we let our guard down. We're not following according to the plan.
Yep.
Go ahead, Angela.
One thing I was going to say is, as leaders, we often push the patient-centered aspect or patient-centered approach when sometimes we may need to stop and think, do we have the staff-centered approach?
Yeah.
Because we
Okay.
often disseminate policies, updates, the same modules. So we expect everyone to be receptive of the information the same, to have the same openness to learning or the same modality of learning. But sometimes we need to stop and actually focus on the staff-centered approach.
Yes.
While the complexity may shift where this person has more CHF patients, this person may have more of your lupus or transfusions and such. So they're never going to have the same equal learning opportunities at one time. So just often stopping to think and say, hey, this person may not come forward, but let's see if they're missing something. If there's a learning opportunity there where we can give them an extra module or something, or pair them with someone on a different floor to give them that more experience.
Right.
To be able to be proactive, as Deanna mentioned, for any higher complexities that may come through the door.
Right. And these nurses today, I will tell you, I teach a lot of undergraduate. They're hungry for it.
Yes.
They want to learn. They want to be experts. They're looking at, how do I get into the ICU? How do I get into CRNA programs? How do I grow and become this expert in my care? But something happens in those first 3 years of practice. Something happens. And we either build calcified
That's right.
new nurses that are like, this is how I learned it. I'm not doing anything else. Or we build people that exit, unfortunately, you know, on the other side.
And it's due to all the things we were just discussing.
Yes,
that aren't
it's so
happening
true.
correctly.
And, you know, you bring up a great point, too, around this idea of staff-centered. If you look at some of the best businesses out there, Starbucks, Fidelity, some of these big corporations, their customer is their staff.
Yes.
And they know if they take care of their staff will take care of their customers.
Exactly. And that is another example of being proactive instead of reactive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead, Derek. You had something to
I'll
add.
pick another corporate example, and this is not, I'm not getting reimbursed here.
Yes, there's no conflict of interest here. Yes.
Think about Chick-fil-A. I love talking
Yeah.
about Chick-fil-A as an example.
Yes.
So I could go to another fast food place that is focused on winning on price, right? So make this as inexpensive as possible to get this low quality product to you that takes forever to get to you,
Yes.
if it gets to you at all. But you roll up on a Chick-fil-A and they look overstaffed to me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, there's a lot of
The
people.
numbers look a little fluffy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
However, they've moved people through their drive-through like 5 times faster.
Yep.
People come through much happier.
Yep.
The product is better.
Yep.
And so this is it's the classic debate, right? Is nursing an expense or an investment?
Yes.
That's
Right? Are we part of the
That's right.
overhead
Yep.
or are we the value
right.
add? And so stepping back from that, to your point, solutions, right? We can all see it, but how do we get there?
Yes.
Right. So I think finding exemplars, places that are doing that well,
Yep.
people that are doing that well,
Yes.
and then to your point, what does the data show?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
You have to make the ROI case to show,
That's right.
which is attention to detail, leaning into non-traditional nursing roles of let's look at the data, let's have boardroom talk,
Yeah.
right? Until we're heard.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's why any good clinical facility or hospital, they'll make sure they have committees or advocacy boards that will have some staff within there.
Yes.
Because, you know, they may only be building everything from research base, but you also need to know what's going on in your own 4 walls
Yeah.
of your facility, and who knows that best than the ones that are providing that care day in and day out.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this conversation today. I think we opened the door to about 6 more episodes. So I hope you'll be willing to return.
Yes, of course.
I do want to put a call out to everybody based on this conversation and really looking at nursing as whether it's an investment or whether it's a burden to a hospital cost. There is something called the Commission on Nurse Reimbursement that was started about 2 or 3 years ago. It's filled with nurses on there. They're from all over the country, and their whole goal is to really get nurses out from underneath the line item into a place where we can charge for our care. So I think these are the kinds of conversations that are going to help people recognize that that exists. And the work that you are all doing, you should be very proud of, because I know looking at each one of you that you put your time, your attention, your energy into your locus of control for what you can, and that's what will multiply over time. So
Yes.
Thank you for being a part of the Hive. Thank you all for listening today. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the social media channels. And if you want to earn CE for listening to our lovely conversation today, you can go on hivenurse.com, become a member for $19 a month, and you can get all kinds of resources and tools and tricks and earn your CE while you're at it. So thank you.